Today on ACC TV, we're going to learn how to build a sales funnel that works for our online courses, that is easy to build, easy to repeat, and drives more customers to buy your course and your online products. So I've put together a very simple 3-step plan for you to build your sales funnel, because sales funnels honestly can be kind of confusing. But the reality is the simple plan works very well for regardless if you're selling a course, if you're selling an online product, or if you're just selling products, period. You have to have these 3 components to build your sales funnel. Now stay tuned, because I did tie in a bonus at the very end and you won't want to miss that. Let's dive into the 3-step plan. I made it really easy for you to remember. It's A, B, C. So what does A stand for? A stands for attracting your audience. This is the most critical piece of your sales funnel, because if you don't have an audience, you don't have people interested in buying your product, you're going to have a really hard time selling it at all. And this is the #1 place that people drop the ball, specifically people that I worked with in the past. They have this great product, they built it out, they have a course, blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, but nobody's buying it. I'm like, well, who's your audience? They don't have one. So there are 2 ways you can build out an audience to attract new buyers. They are either organically, which in the industry stands for free. You do have to have some sort of investment. Usually it's of time, but the monetary investment is low or not at all. And then the paid version, which is all of your paid advertising. So let's dive into each of those so that you know what each one means. So attracting in an organic way could be by creating some free content and putting it out onto social media and sharing it on social media and creating different conversations, either through Messenger or through having people comment on your posts, or any variety of marketing techniques. But the idea is that you're putting out content that is going to help people solve a big problem so that they want to learn more about you and your solution. Now, people often go, okay, well, if I'm giving away all this stuff for free, what am I going to charge for? People will pay for systems and processes. So when you're creating a course, you obviously want to be solving for a problem, but giving away pieces or ideas or information from that course is not giving them the entire process from A to Z. So don't be afraid to give away really good stuff. We know that we are in a really competitive world, and content creation is becoming pretty vast. And so in order to stand out in that arena, especially as a newer course creator, you've got to think outside the box. You've got to think to yourself, okay, if I was in their shoes, what would I want to learn? That's what you should deliver as content. So what are some other ways to get in front of audiences that are maybe not yours? You don't have that many people in your, Instagram followers or on your email list or any of those things. You're new and it just hasn't been a priority to build that list. There's some great ways you can do that besides doing free content. I always recommend doing free content first, because that's going to be the hub of all your marketing. I've seen too many people make the mistake of putting their hub on a social media platform or elsewhere, and then guess what? Those guys change the rules. Now, I love them, and it's really awesome that we have Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and LinkedIn and all of these different platforms to share and promote our ideas and our content and our information. But those companies aren't owned by us. So we need a central hub where our content lives, and then we have the opportunity to share it on all those other platforms. When you do it that way, the rule changes, the algorithm changes, all of those things are not going to be as detrimental to you or your business, because your hub is safe. You own that. So your hub lives on your website. And the goal of any kind of strategy that's attracting audience is to get them to your website. So if you're not doing that, that would be step 1. You want to get them over to your website. So what are some other ways that you can get in front of other audiences? Well, a great way is speaking. And you may be saying to yourself, we're in the middle of COVID. Nobody's having conferences right now. How am I going to get on a stage and speak? I just want you to think outside the box a little bit. There are a lot of creative and different ways that have come about because of COVID that I see continuing into the future. There are online summits you could apply to be a speaker at. There are so many YouTube or video shows out there. Every platform has a video option at this point, and many people have taken to having a video show, and they just interview different people that have a new spin or area of expertise that their audience could benefit from. So diving into complementary industries that have the same audience as you is a great way for you to get in front of their audience. Another way to do that would be on podcasts. Podcasts are huge. I have a podcast as well, and I was really specific about people that I bring on to do interviews. I don't do as many interviews as I did in the past, but when I do bring somebody on, it's because I feel like they have something very relative that my audience can benefit from. And so you want to partner with those people that are talking to the same people that you are and have a different offering than what you offer. And so getting yourself in front of their audience is a great way to build your audience as well. Which leads me to the number one mistake people make in the attract category. And that is they don't have a plan for their marketing. They just go and show up on podcasts or go speak at an event or join an online summit or put things out on social media. They haven't thought through, how does this lead that customer, that new lead, to doing business with me? And if you don't think of that prior to doing all of the work, you're going to find yourself with a ton of content created and no customers. And we don't want that. And so you've got to lay the foundation and those breadcrumbs to lead your brand new lead, your brand new potential customer through the process of becoming an actual customer and paying you money to purchase your course. So number one mistake, you don't want to make that. Don't jump in to all of these different tactics and ideas without a plan of how that moves your customer forward on the journey. That is truly the basis of your sales funnel, which leads us to step B, which is build. And building the relationship, especially with so much content being created, there's content on everything. What is going to become even more important in 2021 and beyond is how you build your network, build your following, and build your influence with people that are attracted to you. Which means we have to show up authentically. We have to show up as who we are and know that we're not going to be a good fit for everybody. And this is something that people struggle with. They think that they need to be the solution for everyone, because that's the way to get as many customers as possible. But when we really look at the people that we want to influence and the people that we can help and the people that align with us as a person and as a business, we're going to find that that isn't everyone. So this critical step of building a relationship is really important. And there are several ways you can do that. So let's zip through those really quick. You can create a free download of some sort. And I highly recommend this because that gives you the opportunity to capture their name and email address, which makes building the relationship much, much easier. And I'm not going to dive into all of the tactics of how you can actually figure out what they're really interested in and then target your content towards that specific interest. That is high level. Like, we don't want to go down that rabbit hole right now, but it is something that I will cover in an upcoming video. You can engage them with additional content on your website. So say you have a blog post and at the end of the blog post, you put an opt-in, but they don't opt in for that free download, whatever it might be. But you might also recommend another article, just like we do here on YouTube, where you've reached the end of this video. Now, here's some other videos that you might like as well. So any type of relationship building, a great way to do this is through messaging. There is messaging available on every social media platform. And you can even automate your messaging with messenger marketing. That is not my area of forte, but I do have a resource. Kelly Noble Mirabella actually focuses her whole business on building messenger bots in Facebook messaging. But if you don't want to go down that path, it is so much easier to send a message that is engaging and investigative of your future and potential customers on any platform, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, or I don't know if, I guess you can't do it on YouTube yet, but you can send them a message. And don't be, this is where we get a little bit, people get it wrong. You don't want to be salesy in that initial conversation. You want to reach out and get to know them and start to do a little bit of research about who they are and if they're a right fit, and get to grow a relationship. You don't go on a first date with someone after meeting them on one of the dating apps and say, hey, you want to get married? People would be like, no, and they would leave immediately because that is not how you build a relationship. So there are social cues and protocols to follow when building that relationship. And the opportunity to do that in an online world is to continue to be an advisor, continue to give realistic solutions to problems, give them additional content, tell them stories that are of success of your clients, do a webinar, have a sales call with them, have a text conversation. However they want to talk to you so you can get to know them is going to be a great way to continue that conversation and build their trust so that they become a customer. And that is the final step. But before we go there, I want to tell you the number one problem I see in the area of B, which is building the relationship. More often than not, people try to go from A, attract, to C, customer. And when you do that and you don't build a relationship and build a foundation of trust, people will not buy. And if they do buy, they're going to doubt their decision and want a refund. That is the last thing as course creators that we want. Does that mean nobody will refund if you build a relationship? No, we don't have a guarantee for that. However, your refund rate will decrease if you take the time to build the relationship and build it well. The other component is that of that same alignment that I see as a problem is that people try to go too quickly from A, like pit stop, and B, and then to C. And it takes time to build a relationship. And when we don't take the time to invest in that relationship is when we see longer term problems and less retention of our customers. So let's dive into the final step, which is creating a customer. And this is done in a whole variety of ways. It's basically saying, hey, do you want to buy my course? Do you want to buy my product? And most people have, ways to do that, whether it's a sales call, or you have an invoice that you send over, or you have a sales page, or you have a cart that you just send them to and they enter their credit card information and they purchase your product. The number one problem that happens in this specific step is that people don't ask for the sale. They get stuck in attract mode or build mode and they never ask for the sale. And that is not only a disservice to you and your business, because businesses need money to run, but it's a disservice to your customers because you've spent the time attracting them, giving them really great content, building the relationship, and then you never give them the opportunity to buy from you. And if you don't give them that opportunity, do you know what happens? They go and buy from your competitors because you never ask them to put money in the game. And when people invest and pay for your product, that means they're putting skin in the game and they're more likely to show up, get through the program, and have success. And that's really what we ultimately want for our clients. So that simple system again is A, attract, B, build the relationship, and C, convert them into customers. That's as simple as a sales funnel gets. You can make it way more complicated. Of course, there's all different moving parts and pieces, but you have to decide what's going to work best for your business. And the reality is if you miss one of those critical steps of ABC, you're not going to have a lot of success. So let's dive into the bonus, because the bonus piece doesn't fit into the ABC formula, but it's so important. We all know or have heard it is much easier to keep a current customer than to go out and get new ones. And it's true. But what I see is that people enroll new students into their online course, and then they just go, good luck, see ya, have a good time in the course, and they don't hear from them again. Or when they do hear from them, it's to purchase something else. However, if you take the time to encourage them to complete the course, encourage their progress, and stay in contact and encourage that conversation and that relationship building when you have the opportunity to offer them something else. So, for example, they sign up for your online course and you stay in touch with them, you realize they need a little bit more help. Well, you have two other options that you can offer them. They can get into a group program, or they can work with you one-on-one, or whatever that looks like in your business. But if you've dropped the conversation and you just let them go off on their own, it's going to be much more difficult for you to pick up the conversation because they're going to feel slighted. Who wouldn't? So staying up with that conversation, whether you create an automatic email sequence that goes out to all of your students to make sure that they're staying engaged, is up to you. But it is critical for success, and it's critical for the growth of your business, because those people not only become repeat customers, they become your biggest fans. And biggest fans spread the word about who you are, what you do, and how you can solve problems. So that's today's episode. Building a sales funnel for success for your online course. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you've enjoyed this episode, please hit subscribe, because I would love to have you get notifications when new videos come out. And I have a guide that will help you through all of the components of a sales funnel that you can grab on my website. I'll put the link below. Until later, I'll see you next week.